Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning. It is 6 o'clock in the morning here in Calgary, Alberta. It's April the 16th, Friday morning. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes, and it's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And we're continuing on and actually finishing up the Survivor to Thriver workbook. And it's a great workbook. I really enjoyed going through it, and I found it very helpful. And it's from the Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, the ASCA. It's a Morris Center program, and you can find this workbook at www.ascasupport.org. And the website there, they do list off web support, information, online support, peer support, and also ASCA hosted meetings like in different cities, because the ASCA, if there's a meeting being hosted in the city, in your city, you could find it and actually join up and become part of the ASCA, the Adult Survivors of Child Abuse and Morris Center program. So it's a great workbook. It's for anybody who wants to look at it. It's a free download from their site, and or you can just read it right from their site if you don't want to download it or print it out. But it's a great workbook. It's really taken a long time to go through it. There's 115 pages. The first 30-something pages are safety first. I think 34 pages. And the safety first section is very important for people who are just starting out in their healing process. You know, if you haven't really done a whole lot of work and you're just starting out with a therapist or an online group support or something, and you're just walking through your adult survivor issues of child abuse, you know, before you do this workbook, you want to actually read through that safety first chapter and do the questions in there just to make sure you're in a safe enough place to do the workbook. It's so important because we have to make sure that we're not going to hurt ourselves or someone else. And the ASCA points that out very clearly in their first chapter. And really we want to move forward at a slow pace in our healing, but it doesn't have to necessarily be slow, but it should be the pace that we're comfortable with and a pace that we find, you know, where we can feel good about it and move through at our own pace instead of what someone else thinks. So we have to really be aware of where we're at in our healing and, you know, take a good look at how we're feeling. And that safety first chapter will actually allow you to do that. That's what it allowed for us when we were reading through it and for me. So it's a good idea to go through that chapter first, even before you listen to this Blog Talk Radio show. I will ask everyone to listen at your own discretion, and you know where you're at in your healing. And so, if it's going to bother you, please turn the show off. And anyone who is sensitive to the subjects of abuse and domestic violence, whatever the topics surrounding abuse, are very sensitive. So if you're sensitive to the topics of abuse and you think it could bother you, please turn the show off. You won't be hurting my feelings. And I just ask everyone to listen at your own discretion. And young people under the age of 18, I really feel like, I fight for child rights. I stand up for children. Online safety is a huge issue, and you have to keep yourself safe. And you want to pass that on to your friends, too, to keep your friends safe. There's a lot of crazy people out there trying to get a hold of children online, and they will use all kinds of manipulative ways to do it, including posing as children your own age or somewhere close to your age. And they will try to get information out of you. They will try to find out where you live, your phone numbers. They'll try to send you gifts. They'll try to get you to meet them somewhere. And you'll think it's your friend who's your age. And then you'll go to meet them, and it's a child sexual predator. And children are dying because of this. And if they don't die, their lives are ruined because of the being assaulted by a child sexual predator. So I'm telling you, you can't be safe enough, and you really need to have an adult listen to this program and actually check out all the stuff that you're doing online. I hope you have a parent that cares enough to do that. And if you don't, possibly a teacher at school, a counselor, a guidance counselor, a coach, someone in your life who you trust and who will just take a moment to look at what you've been doing online and this show, if you wanted to have them listen to it with you, an archive or something. Then you can let them know what you're doing, and then they can tell you whether or not they think you should be listening. And also, they can help you with questions that you might have regarding the material. It's very adult-oriented material, even though this show is ultimately for children and about children and child abuse and issues like that. I really think that there's a lot of adult material. It's very sensitive material, and you might have questions and not know how to find the answers to them, so it's important to have someone listen to this with you. I just really cannot stress that enough. So we're going to get right on here and finish up with this Survivor to Thriver workbook found at www.ascasupport.org. That is the ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, a Morris Center program. And I'll just read right from the page here. We're at step 20. We're on the last 2 steps. There's 21 steps. And it's an amazing workbook, 115 pages long, and I'm going to go ahead and do this on my own at some point this summer when things slow down a little bit and have some extra time to actually go through and do the steps. And but just reading them out was very helpful for me just to see where I'm at in my healing. It actually pointed out to me where I'm actually at, so it's great. Excuse me. So we'll just start right here, actually step 21. Step 20, sorry, step 20. I see myself as a thriver in all aspects of life: love, work, parenting, and play. And I'll just start at the top of that page there. Your journey on the road to recovery is almost over. You have progressed from being a survivor of the abuse to becoming a thriver, someone who finds joy and satisfaction in many aspects of life. By now, you probably have created a new family or support system for yourself that banishes the isolation and shame you felt in the past, and you can readily give of yourself to others and accept nurturance and consideration in return. This is the step in which your new self comes together into a personality that expresses your full essence in the world. And they go on to say here, intimate relationships are now infused with trust, sharing, and mutual self-reliance. You can communicate your needs, allow healthy mutual dependency, and resolve conflicts. Free of the concerns and self-doubt of the past, your new self-acceptance allows you to be less critical of others, while your new self-awareness helps you to identify hurtful situations before they cause damage. You can gauge situations accurately and share your feelings as appropriate without losing control of them. And they say, by now, you are able to avoid exploitative job situations and can identify and pursue appropriate promotion opportunities. You are no longer mired in office in a way that office politics are oppressed by bosses or authority figures. You can develop your career in a way that fosters your interests and talents and accept the financial and emotional rewards that follow. If you find yourself facing a dead end in your career, excuse me, you can make the necessary changes to keep yourself vital and interested in your work. Instead of experiencing your work life as a strain, you now feel challenged and satisfied by your job. If you have children, your new sense of self has brought you a new identity as a loving, caring parent. You accept your children as people and raise them to respect themselves and others. You foster their self-esteem by giving them appropriate amounts of power and control and protect them from harm by setting clear and consistent limits. You are able to discipline them by using a positive elements of your relationship with them to hold them accountable when they fall short of the values you have set for your family. This is the time to acknowledge that your family's intergenerational chain of abuse has ended with you, and you and your children are living testimony to this formidable accomplishment. You can continue to grow together, allowing your relationship to mature into a seasoned adult-to-adult friendship that can provide joy and affiliation for the rest of your lives. Finally, your new self begins to express itself in one area that may have always been difficult: play. You probably have neglected this area of expression, but the newly confident you may now be ready to explore this exciting domain. Hobbies, sports, creative arts, traveling, and music are just some of the many ways you can play as an adult. Playing keeps you in touch with your own inner child and affords you an opportunity to share another experience with your children. Playing revives us and recharges our emotional batteries. It improves our outlook on life and rewards us for our hard work. Don't deprive yourself of this important element of life. Find new ways of playing that fill you up and charge your active participation in life. And many survivors wonder how they will know that they have completed their recovery. And that moment is very personal and may or may not be related to an external event in your life. It occurs at the moment when healing on the inside and change on the outside merge into a unified sense of self. And this moment may be a mystical experience, one in which you feel at one with the world. It may be the moment in which you realize that you have attained an achievement that symbolizes success to you. It will be different things to different people. Excuse me. And you are the best judge of the moment for yourself. And they go on here to talk about like self-help recommendations and stuff on this particular chapter and professional help as well. And so we'll just read right through there. Self-help, I think that's just awesome. This whole step 20, obviously step 20 is awesome because it's the point where we actually realize that we're healed, you know what I mean? That we don't have the same feelings about the abuse and about ourselves anymore, right? That we've come so far in our healing that we actually feel good and we can accept life and just go on with it and be happy and find what makes us happy, and just go after it. And I think that is just so awesome because that's where, of course, all people would probably like to be. And that's why I keep telling people just keep reaching out because it's only a matter of time. You'll find the right people to talk to. You'll find the right counselor. You'll find the right therapist. You'll find the right group support, and it'll just be there for you. And all of a sudden, you'll have the support that you need. And then these people will help you walk through this. And it's just so important because, no one deserves to suffer in silence, and no one deserves to suffer, their whole lives after being abused as a child, and then to go on and ruin their adult lives because of not seeking help and getting help when they should, right? It's just so important because, that's just the whole issue with child abuse. It doesn't teach you how to look after yourself. If you've been abused as a child, quite often we don't know how to look after ourselves, right? And so we have to get help with that. We have to reach out and get help to learn how to nurture ourselves, to learn how to take care of ourselves and how to handle things and cope with stress and, stressful events and stuff like that, and learn good, solid coping mechanisms and ways of dealing with things, learning how to be assertive but not aggressive, like learning how to feel, like to build our self-esteem on the inside, and then eventually we can walk free of all that bad stuff, you know what I mean? We can walk free probably of all of it, or I'd like to think that anyway. At least even most of it is good, right? And, go on it to have the life that we actually deserve to have in the first place, right? So that's the thing. And we can do it. I've seen too many survivors to know, and they're having great lives, and they're there to support people, and yet, they've come so far, and they actually made it, and they did it. So I know actually quite a few. And so I've met, in the last probably 6 months or so since I started reaching out. And so, those people are really, inspiring to me because I see that they've done it. And then it just makes me feel like, hey, they've done it. Well, they made it. I can do it. And I just got to keep hanging in there. And of course, my healing now, has come so far than what it was even 3 years ago. And so, it's taken me a long time to get to this point, right? But, 3 years ago was a complete different picture of what my life is like today. And so, some people might say 3 years, that's a long time. Well, it's not really. Like when you think about how long I lived before that in misery, and it took me 3 years just to come to some realization and understanding of what happened in our family, and also to allow my voice to get out and allow the silence to be broken and start speaking out and really getting involved, because I really have always been interested in human rights and especially child rights. And so, 3 years is nothing compared to the rest of my life being able to walk free of this and walk on to have a good life. And so it was so, I'm so glad that it happened. And I would wish that for everybody. I just would hope it wouldn't take you that long. And I think that's why, because I didn't get any professional help. And I think had I actually gotten some professional help and went and saw a counselor or therapist, it would have probably, I would like to think, it happened a lot sooner, because they can help you walk through things and help you make sense of things in your life, right? It's so important. And also to have some group support, too, just to have some different people in your life who can offer some support. And, why not have group support and some therapy, right? It's not a bad idea, because then you're not just have one person's opinion. You would have help from a number of different places where, if you thought one person just wasn't doing the right job and they weren't quite understanding you, then you could still have some support in another area, which would be maybe like group support. And then you could find another counselor or therapist who is more in tune with what you've gone through and what you've been through, right? So it's so important. And just to learn how to take care of ourselves and how to face life as a challenge and as something that we look forward to, and that we plan for and set these goals and set some, I don't really, I try not to set goals that are too far out or too hard to actually accomplish, because then it sets me up for a fall, and then when it doesn't happen, or if I can't do it, then I kind of feel bad about it. But I try to set goals that I think, hey, I can do that. Goals that are reachable, that we can do, and it helps build some self-esteem, and it also gets us interested in something, right? So it's a good idea, and joining up in a group or a club or something, or if you like to, if you're into sports, there's all kinds of sports happening in different cities and different areas, and like local sports teams and stuff. Or if you're interested in art, you could take an art class. If you're interested in writing, you could take some workshops, some journalism or creative writing workshops. I mean, just to get interested in life and get interested in sharing our gifts that we have to share, that probably have been stifled down there for a long, long time because we haven't been doing anything like that, right? Sharing our good stuff, you know what I mean? So, it's just it's a good way to make friends too and meet other people, right? And we can learn that we can actually trust people and learn how to kind of have a good relationship with somebody who isn't a survivor, maybe, right? And learn that, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and then we can build these relationships with people, right? It's just so important, and it's a great thing, and I wish that for everybody, right? I really do, because I know there's so many people out there suffering with this, and being, having been abused as a child and then still suffering, right? And it took me, like I said, a long, long time to get where I am today, and I wish I would have reached out and got some help. And so I didn't, but that's okay, because I'm just happy now because I've made it this far and I no longer feel like I used to. But the thing is I would wish that people would actually reach out. I wish that I would have known enough to do it and actually had someone in my life encourage me to do it without encouraging me in a bad way. But somebody who really cared, who would say, look, I'll go with you if that's what it takes. I'll go with you as a friend, and we'll go together. I probably would have done it. So, I just can't say it enough. We just need to keep reaching out wherever we can get that help, And we'll look at the self-help portion of this. The ASCA recommends different things after each of these different steps. So the 21 steps, they have the self-help portion of what they would recommend, and also the professional help for each step. And this is for step 20. This is the self-help recommendations. Number 1, have a celebration or perform some personal ritual to mark formally the completion of your recovery. There are endless possibilities for acknowledging this important rite of passage. You could bring together all of the people who have supported you during this process and let them know that what they have meant to you. You could take a vacation of your dreams. If you have moved into a new home that reflects the new you could have a housewarming party, and think of something that symbolizes what your recovery has meant to you and find a way of expressing it, one that celebrates this enormous achievement and affirms the person who did it, you. So I think that's great. Have a little, a party, like, a nice recovery celebration, right? And I mean, even if I didn't have somebody to do that with, I've kind of been celebrating on my own, really, just every day, just thinking, wow, this is so awesome, right? But I think that's a great idea to especially to get the people together that if you have people in your life who have been supporting you all the way through there, or even part of the way, to actually acknowledge them by having a little get-together and just telling them, that's what I would do if I had people along the way. Now, the last 6 months or so, I have had a lot of support from people that I met on different groups, online groups, and whatnot, and friends and stuff that I've met online, and, like friends in the UK, Australia, the United States, around the world, really. And I always try to remember to thank them very much for their support, because it has been very helpful and very much a part of the reason why I feel the way I do today. So, and just in the last 6 months, that's how far I came for the last 3 years, right? So it's huge, and a person can almost, there's almost no words really for it except for just thank you, because, what people do for other people when they really are backing them up and supporting them is standing with them, you know what I mean, and saying, look, I believe you can do this. I know you can, and I'm here to support you. And I think that's just awesome, right? So, I mean, I really appreciate it. Number 2, how long has it been since you marked the start of your recovery? Go back and reread your journal entry marking this long ago date, because we were supposed to be keeping a journal right through this whole thing. What feelings surface as you reread the words that accompanied your state on the road to recovery? And how many years ago was this? Or let's say you were keeping another journal, right, at some other point. You could go back and look at it. You could say, was the journey worth it? Do you like where you are today relative to yesterday? Make note of today's date and acknowledge your reactions to coming to the end of recovery. What future directions would the new you like to explore now? Yeah, we can actually look and think about what the new person we are would like to do now. You know what I mean? That's what I mean about setting some small achievable goals. I really believe in that. And also just having some dreams, just having some dreams and just going for it and believing in something, you know what I mean? Just making our life what it should have been the whole time, fun and exciting and good thoughts and thinking, hey, this is great. And, I never planned for my future when I was young because I didn't think I had one. I didn't think I was going to live to be past a certain age, right? And I was surprised I had lived at all. So, I never planned for anything. I didn't plan to be this age even. So, now because of the fact that I'm facing life with a whole different outlook, I'm actually planning things, and saying, hey, this is great, and I mean, it's a good feeling to do that. Absolutely. Number 3, at this point, you may want to reach out into the community to share your new strengths. If you are attending ASCA meetings, you may want to share your recovery experiences and encourage others who are still on their journeys. One way to deepen your sense of resolution and support others in their efforts to heal is to become a mentor or contact for someone just entering recovery. You might become more involved with ASCA in your organizational capacity, and you can volunteer with a community hotline that reaches out to parents at risk for abusing their children. You might try your hand at social change for running for the local school board, thereby exercising a healthy expression of power and authority. Any of these activities will affirm the changes you have made in recovery and will give you the chance to share with others what you have accomplished. And number 4, this is the last self-help step you will need in this recovery program. By step 20, helping yourself will be almost second nature. That's right. If you got to this point, it's pretty, obvious that you can get through it by just, going back and helping ourselves and just feeling good about things and working through things if we have to, right? But it's just awesome. We can get involved in our community. We can get involved, like I decided, to get off the couch 3 years ago and start doing something, to stop child abuse and to stop human rights abuses. So I volunteer for quite a few organizations. I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dream Catchers for Abused Children, which makes me so happy. And just to be a part of that, not-for-profit 501c3 organization who works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to stop child abuse and really to promote awareness, education, and prevention of child abuse, that makes me happy. It gives me something to feel good about, and it really gives me something to feel proactive about, to say, hey, let's get involved, let's stop child abuse, right? I mean, but I'm okay with that. But someone else, another survivor of child abuse, might not want to do that, but that's okay, because you can get involved in whatever you want to get involved in your community. You could, like they said here, you could get involved in, on a school board, or you could become a mentor or help a shelter out. Just various different things, whatever's in your heart to do, and whatever makes you feel good. Because all the causes are important. Like every single thing out there is valid. The fight to cure cancer. It's all very much important, and it's all very valid, and it's just a matter of what's in our hearts that makes us feel good to get involved with. And I think as long as we're helping someone, well, that's important, and that's what counts. As long as we're doing something to help anyone, I think that is really an awesome thing to do. And, because everyone has something in their heart that just makes them want to get involved for some reason, you know what I mean? And so I completely understand that. For me, it's just fighting against child abuse because my whole life I wanted to get involved, I wanted to do something to stop child abuse, just didn't know how to do it because I couldn't do it because I wasn't where I needed to be in my life, in my own healing journey. But now that I am, I'm able to actually be a part of society and actually help people out and, try to make a difference in this world, right? So it's just so important to get involved, and you can meet lots of nice people and, learn how to have these great relationships. And it's just so awesome, right? It's just nice to have different, all kinds of friends in your life and people, and it's so good. It's a good feeling, absolutely. Their professional help recommendations are, by now you are probably thinking about terminating your therapy. You have gained the perspective to understand your feelings and reactions to life events and have the capacity to make additional changes as needed. You feel strong, stable, and ready to meet life's challenges. You may well feel that you can be your own therapist now. Nevertheless, the idea of going out on your own may bring up feelings of self-doubt, insecurity, and possibly even loss. Don't worry, this is normal, even at the lofty height of Step 21. You have benefited greatly from this most unusual professional relationship, and the idea of not having its support may be difficult to accept. You may have grown very fond of your therapist, who has become so much more than the person to whom you tell your problems. And number 2, discuss these feelings and thoughts with your therapist. Be aware that you may have conflicting feelings during this time, and give yourself time to be sure that the decision to terminate is the right one. Many survivors prefer a gradual reduction in sessions over an extended period of time, with periodic check-in sessions to reinforce all the positive changes they have introduced into their lives. Old feelings and reactions often resurface during the major milestones of life, and many survivors may want to return to therapy at these times to further resolve or solidify their changes. In most cases, this will be possible. Check with your therapist, and I think that's a great idea. Just to kind of ease your way out. If you decided that, okay, I don't need therapy anymore, I feel great, a person could actually give themselves some time and gradually reduce the sessions and actually just ease your way out of it. And maybe not, maybe some people won't feel comfortable at all, to ease out of it, period. They might want to continue on. And I think that's a personal decision that your therapist and you should make. I really do. But I think you should have total, complete control over your healing and your therapy. So you have to be very proactive in it and be a real part of it. And so obviously your feelings do count. And so, you have to discuss that, I think, with your therapist and make sure that, it's the right thing for you to do and that you are doing the right thing for as far as your healing goes, right? I really think it's important. And Step 21 really is just a few words. Step 21 says, I am resolved in the reunion of my new self and eternal soul. Step 21 is the last step of this recovery model, but not everyone necessarily reaches it. It is the step that we all strive for as we continue through our lives. If you keep working on your recovery beyond simple survival, you can reach a state of self-acceptance and satisfaction that represents a unique synchrony between your soul, your spiritual essence, and the new self born of your hard work in recovery. Bringing the new you into congruence with your soul's aspirations is the ultimate step because it represents the combined expression of your conscious, unconscious, and spiritual essences. So that was Step 21, which is, I am resolved in the reunion of my new self and eternal soul. And that's awesome. This workbook is great, and I just highly recommend it for anybody who wants to go through it. I'm going to actually go through it again myself. That's later on. It's 115 pages long, 21 steps. But I'm definitely going to go through it again and do what they actually suggested on the self-help portion of it, as far as writing, keeping a journal and stuff like that. Even though I've come through most of it, the reason I'm going to go back and redo it is because I think there was some great ideas in there on how to express how we're feeling and stuff like that and how we felt. And I think I wouldn't mind doing that just for myself, right? So you can get that at www.ascasupport.org. Survivor to Thriver Workbook. It's free. It's a free download. You can pull that up and print it off and check it out if you like, but just make sure you're in a proper place to do that. You don't want to hurt yourself or someone else. And so if you haven't come very far, like I've been saying all along, you want to make sure that you are safe enough to actually do the workbook, right? We have about a minute left, and I'm so thankful you could join me. I'll be on tonight for child abuse prevention and human rights abuse prevention is up to us at 9:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're looking at online safety for children and for everyone, internet safety, right? And so we're taking a look at that. Well, that's what we'll be doing tonight. And I just hope you have a great day, everybody. April is the National Child Abuse Awareness Month in the States and other places. And Dreamcatchers for Abused Children has obviously we are joining them. Working 7 days a week to stop child abuse. And you can go on our website, www.dreamcatchers. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have to do that, but it's just http dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. And you can go on the website and find all kinds of great information about that. There's a PDF newsletter that describes what's going on as far as Dreamcatchers for Abused Children goes, how you can support us, how you can get involved in your local communities to make a difference and to stop child abuse, right? To promote awareness, education, and prevention of child abuse. But in your own community, you can get involved and just start looking around to see who's doing what. And, just get involved, lend a hand where you can, and make a difference for these children, right? So we can stop and prevent child abuse. It's so important. So everybody have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, we'll be talking to you soon. And thanks a lot for tuning in, everyone. Bye-bye.